Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. Doing European outlook for today's second video. So as always on a Thursday, we're having a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days in detail across Europe. I shall get on that for you in a second. Just so the first video today was our 6 AM upload. I'm going to 10 to 14 day with all our break features coming to you later on this afternoon. Please like, share, subscribe on the videos. And thank you so much everyone for doing that. Right, so we're going to start off with the situation across Europe today. We've got a ridge of high pressure continuing to sit across the west of Europe, where it's been for several weeks now. So high pressure is in over Ireland and the UK, and just generally dominating western side of Europe. We've got this deep trough of low pressure across the northern and northeast parts of Europe. That's been bringing heavy snow through much of Scandinavia and now pushing on through the Baltic Sea into northeastern parts of Europe, Finland, and also Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, those areas getting plenty of snow from that area of low pressure. And generally that low is pulling cold air down the eastern side of Europe as well. So the upper air temperatures look like that. Clearly very cold across much of northern Europe, so Scandinavia into the east and the northeast, even down into the sort of Poland area. Plenty of cold air being sucked in on those northerly winds from the Arctic there. Upper air temperatures don't look too cold through like the Balkans and the southeast parts of Europe, but it is actually quite cold on the surface through there. And this cold air is just about making it into a ridge of high pressure through the UK and France, but as ever, won't be for long. Precipitation-wise, we look like that. So plenty of dry weather with a ridge of high pressure across Western Europe. Of course, there's the snow pushing from Scandinavia through the Baltic Sea into northeastern parts of Europe as well. We've got some showers through these eastern parts of Europe too, and through some central parts of the Mediterranean as well. Temperatures today look like that. So the mildest temperatures out in the west, once again, and through much of the Mediterranean. It is generally cold though from around Germany northwards and eastwards, and particularly so for Scandinavia and much of northeast Europe, where it is in fact bitterly cold. So through to tomorrow, that area of low pressure there will start to move down towards Ukraine, for example, and just take that pool of cold air and snow through the eastern part of Europe. At the same time, Western Europe remains stuck under the ridge of high pressure. No changes through there. Notice that tomorrow we'll see the cold air digging in from the north, so the upper air temperatures are dropping a lot from like the Adriatic to the Black Sea. Much colder air is beginning to dig in, and that is starting to edge down towards Greece and Turkey as well. So another shot of cold air pushing into the eastern part of the Med. At the same time, Western Europe, though, remains relatively mild under that ridge of high pressure, and the cold-ish upper air temperatures that we've got at the moment for the UK, for example, beginning to recede away. Still there across eastern parts of France, and just about into the Low Countries. And then, of course, bitterly cold across most parts of northern and northeastern Europe. Precipitation-wise, we find that we've got snow pushing southwards through the Balkans to the Black Sea, heading in towards Romania, for example, and some rain and snow could well begin to turn up into Greece by the end of Friday as well, into Greece and Turkey. Further snow showers likely further north. Some of them could be quite heavy around these Baltic Sea coasts in particular. More snow moving in towards Norway later on in the day from off the Norwegian Sea. Light sort of wintry conditions through parts of Germany into Poland, although tend to dry out through there. And then, of course, the west of Europe remains mostly dry under the area of high pressure. Very cold again tomorrow across most parts of central, northern and east Europe. And those cold temperatures are digging southeast, so becoming bitterly cold through the Balkans, for example. They're beginning to push southwards towards Greece and into Turkey as well. Heading further westwards, though, we should see that the temperatures aren't overly cold. I mean, it will be chilly. It's middle of winter, so I suppose for the UK, for Ireland, for western France, it will be quite chilly, but not particularly cold, not compared to most parts of Europe. And then into Saturday, well, the trough of low pressure with the cold air associated with it is sitting on this eastern side of Europe. I think we'll be seeing the cold air digging into the eastern Med by this point, bringing a risk of snow parts of Greece. Out west, high pressure will keep things mainly dry and relatively mild through there. Notice the upper air temperatures are warming up across the UK, Ireland, France, Spain and Portugal. We'll be dragging in a lot of cloud from off the Atlantic. Meanwhile, over in the East Europe, generally from around Poland eastwards, we're going to have this pool of cold upper air temperatures, and that'll be digging southwards in towards the eastern part of the Mediterranean. Scandinavia, as we pick up a southwest wind, beginning to go a little bit milder. Precipitation-wise, most of the precipitation is in the eastern part of Europe, so from the Black Sea down into the eastern part of the Med. Heavy showers, thunderstorms, longer spells of rain, and of course, not only rain, there will be snow mixed in through some parts of Greece and Turkey. Once again, most northern, central, and west parts of Europe will be mainly dry. There could be some quite heavy snow here through southern Germany, for example. But much of northern Europe, you snow flurries around, but a lot of dry weather. And most parts of Western Europe mainly dry, if probably quite cloudy. The cold air begins to retreat away a little bit in towards northern East Europe. So Germany starting to get a little bit less cold, for example. The Low Countries, eastern France beginning to lose those cold temperatures. Of course, it never really gets cold for the UK and for Ireland and for Spain and Portugal. So there we stay relatively mild. And we see that the cold air is retreating a little bit further eastwards. But it does look very cold, I have to say, especially of northern and eastern Europe. Again, the Balkans looking really cold, going to be properly freezing cold, especially the Balkans and towards the Black Sea again. And even down into Greece, you'll notice those temperatures are looking pretty cold, even towards the Greek islands. So winter definitely in the southeast of Europe by the weekend. On into Sunday, again, northerly winds being pulled southwards through this eastern southeastern part of Europe. Out to west, we have this static ridge of high pressure. It just goes nowhere fast. And then into the far north of Europe, we begin to pick up a little bit more of a southwesterly wind. So it definitely gets milder across Scandinavia with those upper air temperatures. Most parts of Western Europe looking relatively mild. Those milder upper air temperatures beginning to move in towards some central parts of Europe too. The cold air is really from like Russia down the eastern side of Europe into the eastern part of the Mediterranean. Once again, further heavy rain, sleet, snow, possibly thunderstorms through this eastern part of Europe. Otherwise, many areas are mostly dry and about big area of high pressure. There will be some rain and snow heading in towards Norway. That's a little bit of rain just flirting with northern parts of Scotland. By Sunday, we have a proper east-west split with the temperatures, surface temperature, so it's really cold over on the eastern side of Europe, all the way, from like northwestern Russia right way down in towards the eastern part of the Mediterranean. Turkey, for example, looking extremely cold by this point, many parts of Turkey away from coastal areas looking extremely cold. And like Greece will be very cold as well. Most of the Balkans will be freezing cold too. Out west is going to be a lot milder through there under the ridge of high pressure, or with that southwest wind pushing in towards Scandinavia. Scandinavia is still relatively cold, of course, because it's so far north, but by the time of year, actually, we will see a big warm-up, I think, over the weekend across Norway and Sweden in particular as the cold air retreats towards the northeast. On into Monday, so low pressure will try and start to bring cold air back in from the Arctic into parts of central and northern Scandinavia anyway. Eastern Europe remains cold under the trough of low pressure. Western Europe continues under that ridge of high pressure. Upper air temperatures just begin to get a little bit colder through parts of Scotland, and cold air begin to dig back in towards Norway as well. Cold pools sitting in the eastern part of Europe once more, from southwestern Russia down to Greece and Turkey. And then we've got France, Spain, Portugal, Low Countries, Germany looking relatively mild with those upper air temperatures on Monday. Mostly dry again through most central western parts of Europe with that area of high pressure. There will be a band of mostly light rain, sleet and snow gradually pushing eastwards to central parts of Europe. And then again, this southeastern part of the Med will have further heavy rain, thunderstorms with snow likely to be mixed in once more. Outbreaks of rain and snow again pushing in off the Norwegian Sea in towards Scandinavia, and that will turn increasingly to snow as that cold air digs back in from the Arctic once again. Temperatures look like that, so it becomes colder again on Monday across many parts of Scandinavia, away from southern Sweden and Denmark anyway. Really cold down the eastern side of Europe once more. absolutely freezing cold through there and relatively mild through Western Europe. We're not talking much about Mediterranean, away from the Eastern Med anyway, so far, but most central western parts of the Med will be relatively mild and pretty quiet as well, to be honest. Very pleasant. Spring-like conditions down there through the central bowl of the Med. Tuesday, high pressure goes on across the western side of Europe. And guess what? There's another push of colder air running down the eastern side of Europe. Scandinavia possibly seeing winds backing into the west once again. So that's getting a little bit less cold through parts of southern Norway and Sweden. Very cold across northern parts of Norway and Sweden. And that cold air is again beginning to sink down the eastern side of Europe. You can see the pattern here, can't you? Where the cold air is in the north and northeast and east. Out west, again, mostly mild with an area of high pressure, and through most parts of the Mediterranean, upper air temperature look pretty mild through there. Heavy rain, sleet, snow pushing southwards through this eastern part of Europe, primarily snow, I have to say, moving through Poland and in towards the Ukraine. Significant snow through there, actually. And further heavy showers, thunderstorms, long spells of rain, sleet and snow through the eastern part of Europe, primarily snow into Turkey, of course, where it's pretty landlocked. Out west, plenty of dry weather, although there will be some heavy snow moving in towards Norway by the end of Tuesday. Temperature-wise, it looks like that. So again, continue to be really cold in the north and in the east of Europe as well. Out west, it looks like milder, and most parts of the Mediterranean looking relatively mild and spring-like. Wednesday, oh, look at that high pressure. It's again sitting across western parts of Europe with cold air from Scandinavia down the eastern side of Europe. Once again, look at the upper air temperatures. They're pretty much where we are like today and tomorrow, to be honest. Very cold in the northeast and down this eastern side of Europe. Out west, it remains pretty mild and high pressure, and most parts of the Mediterranean continue to look reasonably warm, in fact quite spring-like through the central and western part of the Med. Eastern Med will be cold, so further wintry conditions likely through parts of Greece and into Turkey. Further snow definitely possible there. Much of Scandinavia at risk of some outbreaks of snow as well. And just generally wintry from many northern east parts of Europe. Again, the west is mainly dry under the area of high pressure, and the east-west split continues with temperatures pretty mild in the west of Europe, although the price paid for that will be a lot of cloud, I would have thought, getting trapped under the area of high pressure, but otherwise relatively mild and spring-like from most parts of western and southern Europe, away from the eastern part of the Med. From the eastern Med northwards, though, at the east side of Europe, gets much, much colder. Poland, is basically the marking boundary between relatively mild conditions to the west of Poland and freezing cold conditions to the east of Poland. And then much of northeastern Europe, again, just looks really, really cold and frozen as well. And a pretty cold day across many parts of Scandinavia too. Thursday next week, no change. High pressure is in the west of Europe, stuck over France, Ireland, and the UK, with the westerly wind bringing some slightly milder air into Scandinavia. Still with this trough, though, in the southeastern part of Europe, so that's where the cold air is going to be lurking from Russia down towards Greece and Turkey. It remains pretty cold and wintry through there. Out west, it is going to be relatively mild. Most parts of the central western bowl of the Med looking pretty mild as well. Further outbreaks of rain, sleet and snow from Italy eastwards into Greece and Turkey, and extending up towards the Black Sea. Outbreaks of rain and snow moving into Scandinavia. Probably rain at this point across the far south of Norway, but go further northwards, there will be outbreaks of snow, and that pushes in towards Finland in particular. Could be very snowy next Thursday, with all of that precipitation likely to be falling as snow. And then out west, once more, lots and lots of dry weather, if rather cloudy, mild in the west with surface temperatures and across the central western bowl of the Med. And again, it's these northern eastern parts of Europe, Balkans again, focus some very cold air extending up towards southwestern Russia too. Turkey again looking really cold, and just generally a very cold scene through the eastern southeastern part of Europe. I'll just run you on to day 10. So this is Friday next week, still with high pressure across western Europe, a push of colder air coming back into Scandinavia, that trough of low pressure. Generally looks quite cold still on the eastern side of Europe, and then into the final weekend of January. no change really. High pressure just goes on and 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 on across most parts of Western Europe, keeping it reasonably mild there. With Northern Europe just a little bit more mobility coming through there, oscillating between colder northerlies and milder southwesterly winds across Scandinavia, but the proper cold still remains probably over on the eastern and southeastern side of Europe. And that's your European outlook for this Thursday. We'll do it all over again next week, but we'll be back shortly with a 10 to 14 day. That will include all the radio features, so come back for that then. But for this European outlook, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.